Welcome to the Gita in Action podcast. My name's Radha, and I'm here with our family of seekers. We have some new additions today too, and we're very excited about those, or people too that have came before and then took a little break and are back. So it's a happy Monday. Happy to see you all. And we are reading through chapter 12 today. We're going to start with verse 15, chapter 12, verse 15. And we're going through the qualities of a devotee, the qualities of a spiritualist that endear one towards Krishna. And so it's kind of like the gold standard for a spiritualist. And it's reassuring, it's sweet, and it also as I was, studying, it's making me realize how far I have to come, which is inspiring and humbling and exciting because spiritual life, it never gets dry, or it's not anything we can ever accomplish. We just keep trying and praying for that mercy. And that's where we are here today together. Excited to get reading with you all and and hearing how these texts relate to your lives. So, with that, before we start, Jennifer, do you want to say our prayers for us?
Yeah, thank you. Om Ganatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakturun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manabhishtam Chitam Yena Bhutale Shwayam Rupa Karamayam Daradita Shwam Param Tikam Vacha Vachakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sanhabayu Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sinhubhyebascha Patita Nam Pavanev Bayo Vashnev Bayo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaita Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasare Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we will start with text 15. I'll share my screen. Let's see. Okay. And when you're ready, Shraddhanjali.
Yasmano dvijate loko, lokano vijate chayaha, harasmarsa bayo dvegyar, mukto yasa che me priyaha. He by whom no one is put into difficulty, and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equiposed in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me.
Beautiful. Thank you. Just 1 second. Somehow I just lost what I was looking at. Okay. Okay, so Krishna describes a devotee who brings peace into the lives of others and who's not easily shaken by the behaviors of others. And this doesn't mean that a devotee never experiences emotions. Krishna specifically mentions happiness, distress, fear, anxiety, because these represent the many emotional waves that move through the mind. And expect them to be there because we have a mind, we have a body, we're going to experience these emotions. But the difference is that a devotee doesn't allow these waves to carry them away from Krishna. The emotions may come and go, but their deeper anchor remains fixed. And this is something that as we get into spiritual life, maybe we start noticing a little bit more. Like maybe we're a little less reactive. Whereas before we would have just like jumped on the bandwagon, whatever we're feeling at the time, we just jump on and we say something that we don't really mean or that we is not in line with our higher nature, and then later come to regret, In spiritual life, we learn to kind of identify those faster and to kind of wait to act on some of our emotions. And in that way, we take shelter of Krishna. In that time that we're waiting, we take shelter of Krishna and we look for direction from within. And then maybe we can show up in a way that's much more in line with our higher nature. Yeah. But the first quality that Krishna mentions here is that a devotee doesn't put others into difficulty. And this doesn't mean that everyone will always like us either. Sometimes if we're trying to practice God consciousness and share spiritual wisdom, establish healthy boundaries, speak the truth, there'll be times that other people may feel uncomfortable. And even Srila Prabhupada corrected people, even Krishna corrects people. The question is not necessarily did somebody come upset, but the question is, what was my intention and was I acting appropriately? A devotee doesn't seek to hurt or to manipulate or to criticize or to agitate others. Their purpose is service. Just kind of like a surgeon. A surgeon may cause temporary pain when they make an incision, but nobody views the surgeon as the enemy because the purpose is healing. So sometimes spiritual life requires difficult conversations, corrections, accountability, or truth. And when these things are done with wisdom and compassion, then these things are acts of service, not acts of aggression. So this is why a devotee strives for both good intentions and the proper execution. So there's two things there. And one rule of thumb that I like to go by when I'm preparing for a difficult conversation or addressing something is to really kind of step back and take assessment of how I'm feeling in that moment. Like, am I feeling triggered? Am I feeling resentment? And if I'm feeling those things, it's usually not the time to address a difficult topic. Because even if we try as hard as we can, those things will inevitably come out, in our mood, in the way that we show up. So typically I try to wait. I try to wait to send that text message. I try to wait to address that situation until I can get in a place oftentimes after this class is the best time for me to address something. That's happened to me many times, or after a meditation, after a time where you've really kind of attuned to the spiritual frequency. That's when we can show up in line with our higher nature. And we can show up with wisdom and compassion, for the other person, for ourselves. And this can make all the difference in having a difficult conversation. So it's not that we avoid difficult conversations. We just become very expert in the way that we show up for them. And also aligning our intention. Why are we showing up for this difficult conversation? Is it because we want to clean up some things in a relationship so that we can have a stronger connection? Or is it because we want to make sure that the person takes accountability for their actions, which is maybe not really our role to play. So we have to get very expert and we have to get very honest. And typically, in my experience, taking some time between the trigger and addressing it, and also using that time to connect with Krishna will give you the best output here. So then the second quality that Krishna mentioned is that a devotee is not disturbed by others. So again, this doesn't mean becoming passive or indifferent. Right? We don't become just like stone cold. Well, it just means that we don't allow other people's behavior to control our inner state. And this is a really difficult one. If somebody criticizes us, or misunderstands us. Anybody feel misunderstood? That's like the worst. I feel like this is something I feel like I constantly relate to in life. I constantly feel misunderstood. Or someone acts unfairly, someone disappoints us. A spiritualist tries to remember that this person is struggling under the influence of the modes. Instead of immediately becoming angry or resentful, which is our material reaction and is completely normal, we try to cultivate compassion. Not because we're accepting that person's behavior necessarily, but because we're understanding the bigger picture. And I was just talking to somebody this weekend, that most of the time when people mistreat us or criticize us or put us down or do us wrong, it doesn't actually really have anything to do with us. Most of the time, they're just struggling with their own inner demons. They're just heavily overcome by the modes. We're taking it personally, and then we're getting so entangled. But on that micro level, it most of the time doesn't have anything to do with us. We know on the macro level, this is our karma. Our relationship with this person is our karma, and there's something there that we also need to work through. But on the micro level, what they're doing is mostly has to do with their own, you know, inner demons, right? Or things they're dealing with. So we should just give them the space for that and just see, look, understand they're overcome by the modes of material nature, just like most of the time I'm overcome by the modes of material nature. And we give them a little bit of grace and space for that. And don't take it personally. And to the degree that we don't take it personally, it becomes much easier to have compassion because we understand that, again, this isn't about me. This is their own struggle. I'm also a conditioned being. I also become overcome by the modes of nature. I also need a little bit of grace and space to deal with those things. And in the meantime, maybe I just don't become so intertangled with them because then we just become overcome by the modes together. And that's not helping anybody's spiritual growth and connection with God. So we start to identify these things. We see these things and we act accordingly. Right? So, and this is really helpful. That the main way that we stop becoming disturbed by others is that we stop seeing ourselves as the center. And as spiritualists, when we become really advanced spiritualists, we live in this mood of Krishna, please use me however you wish. Like Prabhupada's prayer was make me dance, make me dance. Oh Lord, make me dance as you like. This is where we're aspiring to, and this journey of from selfishness to selflessness. That's the spiritual journey. That's the journey that we're all on. And the more that we see ourselves as instruments, the less consumed that we're going to become with protecting our ego, defending our image, right? Or controlling every little outcome. Because those things happen when we think that we're the center. When we think that we're the center, we're constantly triggered. We're constantly consumed with protecting this conception of who we think we are, right? Defending that, controlling everything, our whole environment to align with that. But as we become more selfless, as we understand that actually I'm not the center, God's the center. And my role in this life, my eternal deepest role is to serve the center. We become less obsessed with ourselves and all of these things to have less of a grip on us. We'll feel this. We'll feel this and most of you probably have as you've been on this spiritual journey. And that's probably why you keep coming back and back because it's liberating. It's something so liberating in that to step out of these temporary roles and identifications that we're so married to and step in to the one that is actually us. It's like putting on that pair of jeans that like just fits perfectly and you know, it's super comfortable, it's super stylish. It's like, this is nice. This is our real identity when we step into this as servants of God, as instruments of God. And as we continue serving Krishna, we begin experience his guidance from within. We see him use us in ways that we never could have planned. And then as our trust in him grows, it's just like happens. This is like it happens more and more. It's like the domino effect. His trust in him grows. He starts guiding us more from within. The emotional turbulence of the world loses some of its power over us. We become less reactive. We become more compassionate. We become more steady. And gradually we start to develop more of the qualities that Krishna describes in this verse. And this is the process. It's taking shelter of God, really sincerely praying in our meditation every day, to be used as an instrument, to get out of our own way. This is real liberation. This is real freedom. And it comes from this steady connection, this steady relationship. Freedom from our own mind, from our own conditioned self. It's beautiful. So it's something for us to all reflect on. Where in my life am I allowing other people's actions or opinions or reactions to disturb my connection with Krishna? And it disturbs our connection with Krishna when we act not in alignment with our higher nature. When this person criticizes us, puts us down, and we react in a way that's just not in line. And so what would it look like to respond as an instrument rather than react from agitation? It's a tall order. It's a tall order. But when we really take shelter of Krishna, really lean into our spiritual practices, Krishna will guide us from within on how to do this expertly. And we all know what it feels like to do it based off of our default conditioning, to respond based off of our default conditioning. But to be a true spiritualist, when we really get serious about our spiritual life, this will become more and more natural as we become attuned to Krishna's guidance from within. Does anybody have anything they'd like to share around this? Are you all connecting with this? I could think of so many examples on a
Yeah, I'll
on
share.
almost.
It
Yeah,
was
please.
wonderful, share for Radha. It was just beautiful. I keep on thinking there's an expression recovery. I may not be much, but it's all I ever think about. And devotion sort of brings me to, yes, thinking about my relationship with Krishna, this context, but it also gives me empathy to be able to understand people who are not there. They just that almost always anger is born out of fear, and fear of getting not getting something you want, or losing something you have, and I think that the closer I get to Krishna, the less fear I have of all that. And also that I have sort of an empathy for those who may not be acting in the way that I think sort of be appropriate. Just sort of like, well, that's their thing. They're not really at a place where they can take this message and learn this lesson. And it's better than looking down my nose at people and thinking, someday you'll get yours. Or,
Mm.
oh, you ignorant git, there's the other side of it, is just to just toss people aside, just to have compassion for people who may be on a different place on their journey. I think that's important for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The prayer that helps me so much, which is in line with this, is the prayer of St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. And then it goes on to list, all the the opposites of all the unhealthy modes. I find myself saying it daily, and most days a lot. I'm just, I'm in it. I'm in Maya, and some days more than others. And some days I feel like my foot is, or I might have both feet in the spiritual world, and some days both feet in Maya, and some days I can straddle the fence in both, but that prayer of Saint Francis hits it. It really hits it for me.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Hare
Anybody
Krishna.
else? Yeah.
Yeah. This is a very timely verse, but especially everything you're saying for me. It's been a difficult week in that I was subject to a series of, I guess, like insults and verbal attacks from a devotee. And it's been really disturbing. And when I expressed my feelings about that, it led to more of the same. And I'm in a lot of anxiety about having to have like, I'll be in an event where this person also, will be a prominent figure. And I'm not doing well with it. I think I'm not succeeding at doing what you're saying. I'm not sure how to get it out of my head, basically. It's been quite consuming, and I'm in a lot of anxiety about it. And it just feels yucky, you know. So I'm just really hearing what you're saying, and I appreciate it very much.
Wow. Thank you for that real and vulnerable share. I can't imagine anyone having anything bad to say about you.
Thank you.
But you're in our prayers because it is so disturbing to the mind. It is so disturbing to the mind to the point where sometimes when it happens to me, it's like I struggle chanting because my mind is so disturbed. I remember one time I was getting ready to give a class and I had an interaction like that, literally right before the class. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a task. And I just focus on Krishna and just let that be. Just let that be and just focus on Krishna. And actually a few months later, the person then apologized to me, which was sweet, By that point it was resolved for me. But that's the solution, is just take more shelter of Krishna and pray for his guidance. And then it feels good to respond in a loving way. When you can get to that place where even if that person was 100% in the wrong, if you can, like when this person apologized to me, I was like, don't even worry about it. No problem at all. It's like so sweet just to lean in to that love and compassion and let things go. Even if they don't apologize, still forgive them in your heart. It's so sweet. These
Thank
are
you.
really good tests for us. Yeah.
I'm also very appreciative to have, a supportive partner by my side.
I'm the fierce lion.
She's saying she is. She's much, much more than.
Scared, hungry.
We all need that support. That support is so important. Spouse, a friend, a teacher, so important. We can't do this alone. I think
Thank you.
Mariah had, yeah, thank you. I think Mariah had something and then Shawshank.
Yeah. So I think with
Oh,
whatever the
oh.
experience that was shared, I first of all I feel that it is not a devotee who has done. And with regards to whatever the verse and the explanation you gave, it is their insecurities that he has pushed it on another devotee who is really hurt. But I think, yes, we should always take this as it's always their karma or the insecurities the other person had, which was pushed. So please do not feel anything bad about yourself, Prabhu. So Hare Krishna to you.
There you go. I mean, devotees make mistakes too, I don't know that it's necessarily for us to say they're not a devotee, but I understand the sentiment. It's certainly not acting in line with what we know, but we're all struggling. We're all just in this hospital trying to get better. Um, Mariah, please share with us.
Yeah, it was just, it kind of, it was interesting because everyone was sharing and I was reflecting like, it's easy to have compassion, and we've talked about this before, from a distance. It's easy to love people from a distance, but then sometimes, when we are close, like you were saying, like we both get dragged into the modes, right? And our egos are just like rubbing up against each other, and it causes friction and it causes arguments, and not everybody always takes the higher path and comes back and is like, hey, I'm sorry, and thinks about their higher self, and or tries to see it as like it was just our ego, or it was just the modes of ignorance influencing us, or passion. And it's hard. And so I was just reflecting like, yeah, it's easy in theory, but it's hard to practice. And then yeah, I think it's even especially upsetting when it is devotees, because it's like, man, shouldn't we be all practicing this even higher? But it's like, no, we all fall down. We are all in the shower. We are all getting clean. We are all being purified. And when we're getting purified, the dirt comes off. And unfortunately, sometimes it comes off onto others. Um, and just one practice that helps me a lot, and it's a practice, is just I have a forgiveness prayer, and I've shared it on here before. Or like you were even saying earlier, like just taking that step back and praying about it, asking like, can I have, Krishna, I really need compassion in this moment, or, how can I forgive this person? Or the forgiveness prayer I say is a Buddhist prayer. And it's like you start with yourself, then you say it for someone you love because that opens your heart. Then you say it for someone that you're struggling with. And you just say the words, may I truly be happy. May I live in peace. May I live in love. May I understand the power of forgiveness. And may I know that my life has deep meaning and good purpose. And you can add other stuff in there if you want. And then, like I said, you say it for someone you love. Like I say it for my daughter. And then would say it a lot for her father because it was hard for me to talk to him. I had so much resentment. And that it helped that relationship so much. I mean, sometimes I still have to practice it because that resentment comes back up, or new things happen in life with other people. So that is like my go-to now is laying down at bed before night when I'm calm and just putting my hand on my heart and really just practicing that, because at night is when my mind wants to race and think about, oh, this person and what they said and what they did, and then what I said and what I did, how awful I acted. And so you have to say it for yourself and others, because we ultimately did choose, my understanding, to choose to be in this life, in this lesson, and just like our last class, to deepen that. So I don't know, this is just so beautiful. It's really reinforcing that for me. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Ryan and I were talking this weekend, and I was relating to a lot of what you were saying, where I feel like I'm typically a runner. Like you were kind of saying the same. Like I come up with some conflict and I say, okay, I'm just going to stay away from that person. But for me, there's some just like triggering behaviors in that are probably from like my family history that I experience in other people. And I have some right now in my life that like are the circumstances are such that it's like I just can't run away. And it's exactly what you said. It just came me back to like, okay, this is some kind of karmic pattern that I need to like clean out, and I was just praying this morning that please help me to act in line with your will, and showing up in these relationships. And the relationships are good, but internally I'm struggling. And so sometimes it's just that it's just these lessons that we need to learn, these, and they're just going to keep coming back and back. They're going to keep showing up in our relationship patterns. until we learn how to really deal with them effectively and can let those things go. And that's a blessing. It's a blessing. We should be grateful. We should be grateful for those people in our lives to help us heal and learn how to act in line with our higher nature in the most difficult of circumstances. Because if we can do that, I mean, what to speak of how much love and compassion we can offer the world. Anybody else before we move on?
I was just going to ask Mariah if she could please, in maybe the chat or in the Gita in Action, just put in the simple prayers that you had for acceptance and forgiveness. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's do one more verse. There's a lot to talk about with this next verse too. When you're ready, Shraddhanjali.
Anapeksha sutir daksha udasino gata vyataha sarvaramba parityagi yo madbhakta same priyaha. My devotee who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without cares, free from all pains, and not striving for some result, is very dear to me.
Thank you.
It's a lot there.
See, yeah. At first glance, it can kind of sound like Krishna's giving us a list of disconnected qualities, like pure, expert, free from anxiety, not striving for results, not dependent on ordinary activities. But there's actually a common thread that's running through all of these qualities. And that is that Krishna is describing someone whose life is becoming less centered on themselves and more centered on service. That's the common thread. As our lives become more centered on service and less centered on ourselves, we will naturally exude more of these qualities. And like we said before, this is the journey of spiritual life. Because the reality is that most of the time we spend our lives thinking, if I get this, I'll be happy. If this project succeeds, then I'll be peaceful. If people appreciate me, then I'll feel good about myself. We're so dependent on these external circumstances for our sense of well-being. So Krishna's describing here a person who's gradually becoming free from that dependence. And it doesn't mean that they stop working. And it doesn't mean that they stop caring. It means that their happiness is no longer tied to whether the world is cooperating with their plans. This is a tough one for me. I'm such a controller. But when our deeper satisfaction comes from serving God and our relationship with God, naturally we're less concerned with it, the world's cooperating with our plans. And we experience this. I experience this, when I'm feeling deeply connected, I'm much less like, triggered if my husband doesn't do the dishes or, shows up late or whatever it is. Overall, I'm much easier, like, okay, that didn't go the way I thought it would, no problem. But when I'm disconnected, I'm much more gripping to the way that I think things should be. And these are good, kind of triggers for us. They can be kind of like warning signs for us. Like, okay, it's time to take shelter. It's time to get back on the road. You're veering off a little bit, chant a little bit, hear a little bit, lean in a little bit, practice a little bit of self-care, get back on the road. And when we talk about what makes a devotee expert, because Krishna describes in this verse, he describes a devotee as expert. This isn't referring to material expertise. We know devotees aren't necessarily the richest or the most talented. So what is their expertise? Prabhupada explains that a devotee's real expertise is in serving God. Our greatest qualification is not material competence, but sincerity. This in itself should be such a relief because we don't really have a lot of control over like the material package that we're giving. Our material aptitude, we have some amount of control, but oftentimes, we kind of get what we get. But we have full control over our sincerity. That's all it's just related to our desire. Just how bad do we want it? How much do we want a relationship with Krishna? And how much are we willing to kind of go through it to get that, to face our own demons, to take an honest assessment of where we are and where we aren't. And to do the hard work, to choose space and connection with Krishna in that moment when we really want to react. This is sincerity. How sincerely do we want to serve God, to align our lives with God's will and not our own, not manipulate our environment to make us happy and comfortable? How much can we be okay with letting that go? This is an expert devotee. A devotee sincerely wants to serve. And Krishna reciprocates with that desire. He reciprocates with that desire. And Krishna tells us in the Gita, he gives us the intelligence by which we can come to him. So even if we don't feel like we have a lot of intelligence, we don't have to worry. We just have to take shelter of Krishna and make that our sincere desire, and he'll give us what we need. So a devotee's expertise is not how capable am I, look at how capable I am. That's material conditioning. We all think that that's what's going to get us the most respect and love, but really where the supreme love exists is in the mood of Krishna, how can I serve you? This is actually the supreme love that we're all searching for. That we look for in narratives like, look how capable I am, look at how much I can do, look at how smart I am, look at how beautiful I am. I mean, the whole economy runs on these things, right? It would be if everybody became a devotee, the economy would just crash. Because the real love exists in this simple sentiment, but difficult to practice. How can I serve you? There's layers to that. How can I serve you? And then being willing to follow the guidance that comes is the first layer. That's really difficult to break through. You have to be willing to follow the guidance that comes. And the first guidance is in Sastra, is in all of Krishna's instructions for us, in our teacher's instructions for us. That's what this path is. It's a path towards surrender. So why do we have so many unnecessary worries? Prabhupada makes an interesting point in the purport. He says that devotees don't become overly absorbed in taking sides in things like material politics and worldly conflicts, which doesn't mean that we don't have an opinion. We can have an opinion but we don't become so consumed by it that it takes all of our mental space and our consciousness, our time, because we understand that these temporary battles are not the ultimate purpose of life. It's all just about perspective. As we become mature spiritualists, we develop such broader perspective. So it doesn't mean that we stop caring about the world or, we become independent to suffering. It just means that we're not consumed by endless material agendas. Because people waste so much time worrying about things that they have just very little control over it. You think about this, like arguments, trends, social media outrage, who's losing, who's winning, who's wrong, who's right. But if we just try to stay focused on this one question as we go through our lives, as we go through our days, that is, how can I serve Krishna today? How can I serve Krishna today? If we just stay focused on that one question, if this becomes the priority of our lives, many of these anxieties will fall away. And our lives will become peaceful. Try this when you're struggling, when you're really in the crux of it. How can I serve Krishna today? Because when we're really in the crux of material problems, oftentimes we're very disconnected. We're looking for a material solution to a material problem when that doesn't really exist on the highest level. What do you think, Mariah? Or Shraddhanjali? What do you think, Shraddhanjali?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this in terms of we can, I mean, I like politics in the world and stuff like that. I think it still is our civic duty to participate if we see something, like someone's human rights being trampled. But I think what you made me realize was like, well, if you're going to write to your congressman or attend a protest, is it or actually try to alleviate the suffering caused by some policies by bringing food or stuff, like, is that like we could just switch the lens of like, is this serving Krishna? How can I serve his children? If the focus is to like, what are the policies that are causing suffering, and can I serve in any way by participating in the democratic process, the that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I sometimes I feel like I don't. I'm in terms of political, I would like to be active just to try to maintain human rights. Like, because that's sometimes the only way is to participate in some way, but even if it's just to sign a petition or something. But we can't do
Yeah.
it as, I mean, we could think, well, what is the result? I don't know what the result will be. I'm not attached to it, but I could try to help to produce a result that eases the suffering of people, because if they're hungry and stressed and stuff, it's one, they're open to Krishna consciousness more, but two, they're worried about the basic needs. So how is that? Yeah. Anyway, I don't know where I was really going with that, but I
Yeah.
I don't think we should not participate, but not get consumed by it. See it as service and have the right perspective. Not that that's a person's a demon, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah. To the degree that we're showing up to whatever service we have from a place of being triggered, we're more in that self-centered mindset. To the degree that we're showing up from a place of love and compassion, we're much more effective. We're more serving Krishna. We're more serving God. That's more in alignment with service to God. So I think that's the first thing for us to kind of reconcile is, where's our consciousness in whatever service we're doing? Are we showing up and we're triggered and we're fired up? Or are we showing up from a place of love and compassion? And that's true service to God. And then I think the other point Prabhupada makes is just, if our real mission here is to spread God consciousness. And if we're overly consumed with material problems from a place of like that, from a place of just like being triggered, then we're kind of missing the bigger problem here. And so it's just, again, taking an assessment. It doesn't mean we can't serve material problems in some capacity, and that's also wonderful. But just in what consciousness are we doing that with?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, it's Alyssa.
Alyssa.
I am so sorry. I don't know how to use this freaking app to raise my hand to ask for permission to talk. All it says is tap here to speak. Can I comment to what Stella was saying really quick?
Please do. You never need permission to talk.
Well, you
We love.
basically like answered it in a very eloquent way, way more eloquent than what I was going to say, but like in a nutshell, I feel like I personally agree a lot with what Stella was saying. And I know because I've talked to her before, I know that she has very similar politics to me and she lives in a very conservative state. And I worry about things like that too, right? Because we do live in a material world and we don't want some weird like conservative overlord like making decisions for us, right? Especially when it can affect not just us but our communities that we care about, and just basic human decency. So I agree that, there's action that we can take, but at the same time, like, I also feel like it's very, very easy to get entangled in. And just like everything else, I feel like there needs to be a balance. And if you get heavily involved with politics with people that don't have a spirituality base, you can more easily kind of like get sucked in and like forget the modes of nature and forget the whole purpose of God consciousness, because it is a very material based perspective, right? And there's problems in those activist communities too. Like those people manipulate, those people lie, those people cheat and steal, So I mean it's not a black and white thing. It's one of those things where I mean you really have to be very firm in your sadhana if you're going to engage in that kind of practice. That's all.
Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
Alicia. I hear that. Like, your heart goes out when you hear that there's no more regulations about horrible chemicals for, in children. And it's like, yeah, you got to find that balance. And I think these verses are like, be equiposed, like, yeah, these verses really help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you.
I totally I appreciate it, as well as especially being like someone that came from like a activist kind of background, and having to see the dark side of that as well, right? I mean, you really have to value your spirituality in order to engage any kind of material thing like that. It's almost it can overwhelm you, it can really overwhelm you. So that's it. That's all I got to say about that. Tapping off.
Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. Yeah. To the degree that we take shelter of Krishna in our service, we will become expert in whatever service that is. Yeah. Chantal, you hear Chantal? I believe I saw your hand up. Oh, are you speaking? We can't hear you. No, we can't hear you still. Keep trying, and then you can just interrupt me whenever it works. Yeah, keep trying, and we'll hear you at some point, and then you, yeah, that's so weird because I do see you're off mute. Bummer. Okay, we have just a little bit left of this verse. Another quality that Krishna mentions is that a devotee is not striving for some result. So again, this doesn't mean laziness. Devotees work hard, sometimes incredibly hard, but they're not obsessed with controlling the outcome. They're just focused on the offering. This is another good sign of if you're in this, if you're more on self-centered versus selfless. Because when we're self-centered, we are fixated on controlling the outcome. But when we're Krishna-centered, we understand it's Krishna controls the result. And one of the greatest sources of stress in life is trying to control the things that we're never meant to control. So devotee gradually learns, my responsibility is the effort. The outcome belongs to Krishna. And there's so much freedom in this realization. There's so much freedom here. So when you step back and look at all the qualities in this verse, they really describe this transformation, that the devotee is gradually becoming less absorbed in what do I want and more absorbed in what does Krishna want. And this is the journey of bhakti, from selfishness to selflessness, from control to surrender, from anxiety to trust. And Krishna says that a person who is sincerely walking that path is very dear to him. So this is for us to reflect, what's an area of our lives where we're more focused on getting a particular result than on simply offering my sincere service to Krishna. Even if your service is in planning, are we overly attached to the result? Or are we just simply doing our service as an offering to Krishna? So that's all I had for you today. Do we have any final shares before we all sign off? So nice to be here with you all. Chantal, can you talk now? Let's see. Did you figure it out? I don't understand why we can't hear you. I see your mouth moving
You
and
have
you're
our
obviously.
headphones in?
Do you have headphones in?
Today.
You're off mute. Oh no, that's so strange. Just keep trying to figure it out and see if somebody else wants to share, and we'll circle back to you. Any other shares? Aaron, we haven't heard from you in a while, my dear.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate this class. It's definitely something I struggle with, you know. Um, I don't know what group chat this was shared in, but there was a prayer or a purport from Prabhupada shared in some group chat that I'm in about how like our only prayer should be to never forget Krishna.
Mm-mm.
And like just really thinking about that, and I'm like, I have so many prayers. Like I have so many desires, and I'm constantly lying to both myself and Krishna and saying, like, just please do this one thing and I won't ask for anything more. And it's like, obviously that's a lie, because whether that is granted or not, there's gonna be another thing and another thing and another thing. And so it's just something I've been like struggling with a little lately and talking to people about of like, because now then like almost limiting my prayers to that one prayer that's supposed to be my only prayer feels like it also feels like a lie, like like withhold, like I have these desires, right? And like I feel like that's the whole point of bhakti, is like not uh not trying to abandon desire, but trying to lift them up, right, and spiritualize them. And so I've been just trying to like work with that and like find that balance of like, okay, I have these desires, they're not completely spiritual, I don't know what to do with about that, help me with this, Krishna. um so I don't know, I just feel like it's like a really hard balance to find, even like the small things you were sharing about, being upset with your husband for like little things. Like, I'm like, yeah, but sometimes I'm upset and like I shouldn't pretend that I'm not upset, right? Like, and I don't want to, I guess that's another thing I've been struggling with, is like how I like use my chanting of like, am I like trying to not be upset, so I'm chanting to like pretend that I'm not upset. I don't know. I feel like there's this like tug of war going on sometimes. And I'm like, I don't know if that's how I'm supposed to be like using this practice either.
This is so perfect. This is exactly the process. This is sadhana. We have emotions. We're emotional beings, and we're so conditioned that a lot of times our emotions are directed towards material things. And it's not that that's good or bad, but the process of bhakti is learning to direct our emotions towards spiritual things. And And as we're going on that journey, we realize how when we direct all of our emotions towards material things, it's actually there's a lot of suffering there. And that's just part of the lesson, but it's not good or bad. And in the meantime, we're chanting and we're using our chanting. Just keep trying. Just keep trying and just keep praying. And Krishna will take you on a journey. And sometimes that's all we can do. Even if we're not, where we want to be, just pray. Just pray for Krishna. Pray for Krishna to help you. That's the process. But you're so sincere. Your share, I know I always say you're so sincere, but it's just because that's the journey, and you're really recognizing it, and you're really there in the thick of it, and you're just trying. And that's what Krishna asks of us. That's all Krishna asks of us. Really nice.
Can I just say, Erin, that sometimes when we're allowed to be upset, and sometimes we're just upset at like the material world is like this. It's not even the other person not doing it. It's like this darn material world, like. But we are allowed to be upset.
And that's even a spiritual, that can be redirected spiritually because we're recognizing, the material world is no place for us. It becomes an impetus for our journey. So, yeah, thank you. Okay, my friends, we're out of time. Shashank, are you still on? Did you have something? Do you want to
Yes, I just wanted to share with everyone while you were all sharing your thoughts, right? So, very recently, I met one of the gurus where he said that the journey of a devotee is not that easy because we have to wake up in the morning, we have to do chanting, we have to be in the uh, this thing, organization of all the devotees, and it's not anyone else, right? So it's not easy. And instead of coming to this session and listening to these wonderful thoughts or the information which Krishna has given, we could have been anywhere else. We could have been enjoying, we could have still been sleeping, but still what drives us is okay, we have to push ourselves. So he told one thing, right? I think you all also know this. So we shall always come. That means in Hindi they say hum honge kamyab. So that means we shall always come, and we will only have to have faith, and the faith needs to be very strong. And if we have that strong faith, so Krishna will definitely take us towards the perfection. And the whole intention is to be perfect. If we keep doing every day and every now and then, and if our thoughts are good, he will always show us the path, and one day we will be perfect.
Haribol.
Haribol, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Appreciate you all coming and Chantal, I see your share now on the chat. Life is a game. Play the game. Don't get caught in the rules or boundaries. Keep leveling up and keep moving forward. Don't take yourself too seriously. My husband's teaching that I put in my words. Husbands are wise, huh? Husbands are wise. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. I'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Haribol.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.